Well, the National Sea Rescue Institute is calling for vigilance at sea following severe weather warnings issued by the South African Weather Service. Disruptive rain and winds have increased the risk for those working at sea or near the shoreline. Let's talk about it with the spokesperson for the National Sea Rescue Institute, and this is Craig Lambinon. Craig, thank you very much. We know that you and your team are very, very busy, so I really appreciate this time, and hopefully everyone who's connected to, working with the ocean or the sea or wherever these bodies of water are able to tune in. So let's maybe start from the moment you get a warning or a confirmation of an indication there's going to be a run of bad weather. What plans are set in motion from that point on?
So really, thank you very much, Iman. Really, from the NSRI's perspective, and in fact, for the whole of the emergency services, we're really on duty 24 hours a day, every day of the year, ready to attend to any type of an emergency, irrespective of what it is. Obviously, the level of awareness is heightened. Crews are, in any case, ready and geared to respond to emergencies. So nothing really changes from our side. What we do encourage, we encourage the public to follow the South African Weather Service's forecast and their warnings. They're obviously keeping up to date with what is going to happen and putting out regular warnings with regards to changes in the weather, which obviously happen very frequently. And then from our side, together with the emergency services, we're ready to respond to emergencies. But our appeal is for the public to have a safety-conscious mindset. Don't put yourself in any unnecessary risk. Rather, stay safe, keep your family safe. Don't venture outdoors if there is inclement weather forecast by the South African Weather Services. And definitely if you don't have to launch a vessel to go to sea, especially when the weather combines with something like we had over this weekend, which is the new moon spring tide. Those two, the confluence of circumstance that come together, which makes sea conditions really rough. Understandably, there are commercial fishermen and commercial seafarers who have to be at sea. We encourage them to wear their life jackets, have their safety equipment at the ready all the time. And from the NSRI, we've got our NSRI SAFtrack app on your smartphone that any boater, sailor or paddler that is at sea can use our SAFtrack app to plot their course. It gives us where you are while you're out there. It also gives us all of your information. And if you get into an emergency, you simply press a button, an emergency button that tells us exactly where you are, and we can come and rescue you. So that's something you can get on our webpage at www.nsri.org.za. But as I say, follow the Southern Weather Service's forecast, be safe, and we've coined that phrase, let's keep each other safe.
Yeah, really fascinating, Craig, that you're using technology as well through the availability of that app. What's been the uptake so far? Because it sounds really great. You plot your course. I assume that there's live tracking on your location at all points, and so all you need to do is press a button and people know where to find you.
It is fascinating. We've coined that phrase as well. It takes the search out of search and rescue, because we don't have to search for you anymore. We know where you are when you're in an emergency. We simply have to go to that position where your cell phone is, and that obviously is a massive help. It avoids these long, extensive search efforts that we used to have to employ in the old days with helicopters, multiple rescue resources and boats. We can simply send a rescue craft to your position. But as soon as you turn on the app on your phone and you've plotted your course, we're monitoring you, our emergency operations center at our headquarters, who are on duty 24 hours a day. They're monitoring you on a screen, but we've also got all of your information, what color your craft is, what type and make of your craft. We've got all your family's details that we can call them if there is an issue. And if you fail to close the app when you finish your trip, it tells us a few minutes after the trip ends that you haven't checked in or you haven't closed it. We're immediately calling you to say what's going on. And quite often, it's simply a case of the person's forgotten to close the app. So technology has really made a big difference in our world.
Yeah.
That is correct.
I love the concept of taking the search out of search and rescue, because that's where a lot of resources and time wasting happens. So I want to go back to the point that you made about everyone in this sector, particularly in fishing, being safety conscious. I know that, you know, for seasoned fishermen and those who work in the commercial operations, or even those who subsistence fish, there is this idea that, you know, we know the sea, we understand, so maybe we will be a little bit lax on things like wearing a life jackets and other safety equipment and so on. But I think what you are emphasizing is that no matter what, go out and make sure that even on the basics, that you do wear your life jackets. You said that the commercial fishermen typically, I mean, you know, they have to go out for business purposes, but we know that a lot of families rely on the fishing industry as well for their resources and their income, and also for food. So what particular warnings can you share there, given, as you say, there's the confluence of a number of different factors, the spring tides notwithstanding?
Yeah, that is correct. And obviously, we do still have a case outstanding where there are 11 fishermen that are missing in Cape waters. And obviously, our thoughts are with those families in that situation, and all compassion to them with that particular case. A very sad case. It is true that they are putting themselves into a wild environment. The sea is like going into a jungle. It's the same type of concept. It's unpredictable. Waves are unpredictable. Tides are unpredictable. And of course, the weather's unpredictable. And they are out there already. Not only fishermen, but seafarers on shipping that are also subject to these kinds of adverse weather conditions. So it is a case of keeping safety top of mind all the time, being properly briefed before you go out, and having safety equipment with you. The life jackets are an issue because they used to be cumbersome. You can now get personal flotation devices that aren't as cumbersome, but it is when you're busy and you commercial working, fishing, or commercial seafarers working on ships, it is difficult to have all of that equipment with you all the time. But it's essential, and we appeal to the commercial seafaring community, the maritime community, to have safety top of mind all the time.
Yeah, again, as you say, people are still missing, and the trauma that the families and those loved ones are going through continues till now. And thanks again also to the NSRI and the work that you do in these operations in bringing people home safely. Just a quick follow-up question on the app itself, and I want to share the URL with our viewers, www.nsri.org.za, for the SAFtrack app. Is it a free app, Craig?
So it's a free app, and it's on our webpage. You can download it from our webpage onto your smartphone, and it really is. It's essential. We do have sometimes paddlers who go out in a group of paddlers, and they say, well, it's fine. One of the paddlers has got the app, so it's fine. They're all safe. But when the wind changes or weather changes and you get separated from each other, the people who don't have the app, they're going to be the ones that we're going to have to spend time searching for and hope that we find them. So we appeal to everybody, even if you're paddling in groups, even if you're a group of boats going out to sea, have the NSRI free SAFtrack app on your phone and use it.
I want to go back to surfers and other people who might use the waters, or have a habit of going into the ocean and taking a dip under these conditions. Where should they be looking for the most current information with regard to things like tides, wave activity, wildlife activity in the ocean as well? How do they keep safe?
So as the South African Weather Services is your first port of call for forecast weather, and it's obviously important to check the weather before you go, especially onto the ocean. But that also goes for inland waterways as well. And know what the weather's predicted and be prepared for that weather. Have the correct gear with you. But bathers, surfers, paddlers, the paddlers definitely to also use the NSRI free SAFtrack app. And surfers, obviously, we don't really ever have much issue with surfers. Occasionally, you'll have a surfer that might bump their head or suffer a medical complaint while they're surfing. But surfers they're generally around the world. It's a relatively safe sport. Obviously, sailboarding now, wind foiling, those are the dangerous sports. They can use our SAFtrack app, but it means that they've got to keep their cell phone in a watertight sleeve, but no different to paddlers who use the app. And we appeal to everybody, if you're launching, especially to go to sea, download and use that app. It really helps everybody, including your family, to get you home safely if you get into difficulty.
Well, thanks, Craig. You saved me from having to ask an embarrassing question, because I was scratching my head and thinking, well, if you're paddling out, how are you going to use the app? And as you say, you do have, waterproofing mechanisms and pouches and so on that you can use at sea to be able to do exactly that. Thank you so much for talking to us this morning. Is there anything I've left out, anything else that we really must share with the public before I let you go, Craig?
I think it's just important to remind the public that having that safety conscious mindset is important. And when we do get a call out, it's a combined effort by the entire emergency services, NSRI, the South African Police Services, Fire and Rescue Services, ambulance services. Everybody's coming to help you if you get into difficulty. And obviously from NSRI's perspective, our donors and sponsors that allow us to have these world-class resources to come and save you in these situations is the pride of South Africa, that it is something that's by the people and it's for the people. We take our hat off to our donors and sponsors for their ongoing efforts to keep us well funded.